Welcome to Kicking It with Sensei. Today we're joined by an amazing woman, former police officer, bodybuilder turned actor, and you may have seen her in such shows as The Walking Dead and Z Nation, and a fantastic martial artist, Katy O Brian. You're very welcome, Katy.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
Thank you. Now, and you really have done it all, but can you tell the audience a little bit about your martial arts?
Yeah, my background, like just the whole how I got started.
Yeah, how you got started as a young girl. And
when I was really little, I think I was like 5, in kindergarten or first grade, I started getting bullied by a group of like much older boys, and it was really intimidating. I was really distraught, and I told my dad, and for that reason or a bunch of other reasons, I think he also wanted to start doing martial arts. He signed the family up for karate.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we got started. It actually did allow me to defend myself, and the bullies left me alone, which was really great. And continue with that for a long time. Got my brown belt as a little kiddo, and then kind of took a break for a bit doing other sports and some music and stuff. And then once I got into college, that's when I really like just kind of hit the ground running. The school that I went to has an amazing martial arts program, and you actually get class credit for the martial arts courses that you take. So I just started just adding as many as I could get in, and from there it was just a lifelong thing.
So was college where you discovered Hapkido? I know you've got a big background in Hapkido in particular now, and you teach that at the minute at UCLA as well, don't you?
Yeah. So I went to Indiana University. Their main kind of self-defense program is based around Hapkido. So if you join self-defense, you also join Hapkido for the most part. So yeah, I started there, went through, got my black belt, started doing some teaching there for like their club and things. And then once I moved to LA, I kind of restarted because the head of UCLA's martial arts program is also an IU alumni. He had started the Hapkido program there for a bit. It kind of fizzled out, and then so I got to restart it, and it's been moving pretty well ever since.
Excellent. And do you feel college is where you really flourished as a martial artist and really developed a love for martial arts?
Yeah, I think, when I was a kid, it was great because I learned a lot of discipline and, how to respect, show respect and bow and things like that. I think it was really good for that. And it was athletic. It was fun. It was something to do. But I never really, you don't really make, I feel like as a child, a lot of the connections that you make as an adult.
Yeah.
Like, why am I doing this? What's the purpose of this? Is there another way to do this that might be more efficient for me? You don't make those connections. So once I got to college within a more adult lens, it definitely started to make sense. I started to really understand, the fundamentals.
Yeah.
And so I was able to really progress a lot better and know what I was doing and be able to teach it.
Excellent. Excellent. You also got your law enforcement certificate when you were at college. Was police work something you always had an interest in pursuing?
That was kind of like a weird thing. I thought that I was kind of signing up for a security gig because when I went to a job fair, they were there and they were like, yeah, you get into the games for free, you get into concerts, whatever, like, because you're working them. So you can just go, view them all. Room and board discounts, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, sign me up. And then I found out they sent you to police academy and I was like, oh, okay. So I kind of stumbled on it from in accident kind of way, but I also, I was fascinated by psychology. That's kind of what I got my degree in. And I know that, or I thought that there was like a section in the FBI where you could kind of use psychology or like criminal profiling, that kind of thing. And it didn't really exist. So I thought that would be a really fun career. And then I realized it wasn't like an actual thing. And so I kind of was like, oh, okay.
Super. And after college, you started working with the police department in Indiana. And as part of your duties, you work with the crisis intervention team and working with individuals with various psychological conditions. And do you feel martial arts kind of give you life skills that aided you in that job?
It did. It definitely helped with police work in general, but also, you know, with our crisis team, because it teaches you basically not to use your martial arts, like as a last resort, and you have it there as kind of a backup if you need it. So you have that extra sense of confidence and authority in a way.
Yeah.
But what I really found useful was just being able to read cues, know when something's going to go poorly, and then try to jump ahead of it as best you can. I think I only ever had to get physical like twice in 7 years, because most of the time you can talk to people and they'll be compliant. But you know, when other factors come into play, drugs, alcohol, things like that, it becomes a little more difficult. But I mean, most of the time it was, I think, having that training, you have the experience, the knowledge, and the ability to say, I'll use that as a last resort and I'll use other things first, which I think a lot of people could benefit from.
Yes, definitely. No, definitely. And you also qualified as a personal trainer and competed in bodybuilding. And I know this is very demanding, same as martial arts, same as police work. But do you feel you have a competitive nature?
I don't know. I definitely feel competitive with myself for sure. Other people almost as a joke, like, you know, I'll make something that's not a competition, but I'm like kind of joking. I don't really expect it to be a thing. But that was all stuff that I just, you know, the personal trainer thing, I was training for bodybuilding competitions, and I wanted to make sure that I knew on my end what was going on, you know, because there's a lot of stuff out there like take this supplement, whatever, and it's not good for you, or it's not good advice, or it
Yeah.
doesn't actually work and you're wasting money. Or, you know, do this rep range, this, you know. So there were a lot of things where I wanted to make sure that if I was doing something to my body, that I had the most information I could possibly get. So that's kind of why I went along that. And then it, you know, extra income to train people. It was fun. I could make a difference in their lives. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's something I've pursued myself now. I qualified as a personal trainer, but it was more so to enhance my martial arts and
Yeah.
kind of help students. So it was, but it's a nice thing to have on the side. But so you left the police anyway and pursued a career in acting. So you moved to LA and decided policing and bodybuilding were a bit too easy. So you went to decide to break into Hollywood. And within your first year or so, you done some awesome shows, including Mandalorian, Black Lightning, Z Nation, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., some of the big shows. Is this something you've always wanted to do from you were a young girl, was pursue acting? And
Yeah, I did it, but you know, it's one of those things, especially where I grew up. You know, I'm in the Midwest, so Indiana. It's very like get a stable job, stable career, get married young, you have babies, whatever, and that's what your life is supposed to be. It's a trajectory, right? So I did perform. I performed all the time, and honestly, my parents encouraged me to. Like they were never like be a police officer because they're like, you know, they were terrified of that. So they always encourage that, but in my mind I thought I had to have that steady path, so I kind of I was afraid to pursue it for a long time, and eventually I just was like, I have to try now. This is what I actually want to do. I have to give it a shot, and if I don't like it or if it doesn't work out, then I can always fall back on something else.
and from moving to LA as well, you've actually started working along with UCLA, teaching martial arts programs and Hapkido and self-defense. And could you tell us a little bit about the programs within UCLA?
Yeah, UCLA, they have a great martial arts program. They're constantly expanding. So we have things from, I mean, we have Kendo, we've got Hapkido, self-defense, we have capoeira, karate, judo, jujitsu. I mean, wrestling, they've got a lot of it. Some of them are competitive, some of them aren't, some of them they have clubs. Some of them it's just essentially an extracurricular. None of them, from my understanding, are something that you take class credits for.
Yeah.
And I have like, you know, knowing what that's like, going from a place where it is for a class credit versus where it's not.
Yeah.
In specifically in the student environment, I have some, you know, reservations, but then I also, you know, like it in other ways too, because the big perk is, when people have to show up for a grade, they show up, right?
Yeah.
So you're not stuck with some kids that come day one and then leave and then come back on the last day, and some kids that are there every day. So you have to constantly shift how you're teaching and break people up into several different groups, and it just kind of becomes chaotic when they don't have to be there. Because especially for something that's like a very structured belt tier system, and you're also trying to encourage people to continue to come back.
Yeah.
And one of those, incentives is getting belts, becoming assistant instructors, that kind of thing. When other people might be impeding their progress, it becomes a little more difficult to keep people in. So I've had to be a lot more creative with my instruction style at UCLA, but it has benefited me in that way as well. So I'm a lot better at multitasking, a lot better at like recognizing levels and modifying my lectures, things like that. So.
Excellent. And is martial arts still a big part of your life? With the acting and all the rest, do you still take a lot of time to train and instruct martial arts?
Yeah, I mean, with all the COVID stuff, it's been really difficult too. We did some Zoom classes for UCLA, but internet out here for starters is horrible enough. But like when your student is punching and then it freezes and you're like, you can't tell what you're doing, or they don't know what you're doing, it just became kind of way too much hassle for me to do it on that end. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the roles that I go out for are for someone who either looks like they can fight or does fight. The fighting on my resume is huge in terms of some of the roles that I've gotten. I mean, I just got a guest star where I played an MMA fighter, and I got to actually train with professional MMA fighters, and we're rolling around, we're like sparring, we're doing fun stuff. So I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that they've gone hand in hand, but even also just like the lessons that you learn in martial arts, the resiliency, the discipline, determination, drives, getting, learning to laugh at yourself, learning to relax, all those kinds of things translate very well into, I think, just about anything. And I don't think I could have gotten very far in one without the other.
Excellent. And do you feel that you've had to face very unique challenges as a female in martial arts throughout your life?
Yeah, I think, when you walk into a class, automatically people kind of don't take you very seriously. Or they, a lot of my experience, especially with like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where you're just really, I mean, you're sparring right off the bat for the most part.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are worried they're going to hurt you. And that's the big thing that I've encountered. So they don't want to even bother rolling with you because they're worried they're just going to accidentally hurt you somehow. So, that's something that with time, or, you like, sometimes you just have to go up and say, hey, will you train with me today? You just have to take some extra initiative that I think a lot of guys wouldn't have to do. And then, with my students, sometimes I'll notice that I might say something, they might not listen, and a male instructor will say something, and then they'll come and tell me what that male instructor said. And I'm like, did I not just tell you that a week ago? Like, you need to listen when I say something. Like, my advice is just as valuable. So, you do have some little things like that, but I think over time it's starting to get better. You're starting to see a little bit of a change in that.
Excellent. And what advice would you give a young girl starting out in martial arts and basically dedicating a lot of time to it?
Yeah, I think a lot of times people are just afraid to go in and start. I mean, that's like the big thing. They're worried that they're going to go in and be bullied or whatever. And I think you just got to be brave is one of the big things. Everyone has anxiety these days. I mean, it seems like, so you have to tell yourself, like, I'm here to have fun. I'm here to learn. You have to humble yourself when you go in thinking I have to prove myself, or, I have to be the best. I mean, come on, if you're just going in and you're just starting, that's just not going to happen. Like, people are going to be better than you, and people are always going to be better than you, no matter what. So I think if you come in with the attitude of here to learn, I'm here to have fun. If people decide to bully me, there are, a couple ways around it. You can confront them, and oftentimes that stops things. If it becomes worse, you can talk to the teacher about it.
Yeah.
If it's something that it's like, are they really trying to be hostile? Maybe you learn to laugh it off, because sometimes people just like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm from a family that teases each. I have 3 brothers. We tease each other all the time. It's not intentionally harmful, So you do have to learn to, roll with the punches, laugh things off, because sometimes it's not meant to hurt you. It's meant to like bring you in as part of the team, And I think there is something to be said if those methods don't work, if the teacher ignores you, if the students ignore you, then it's probably a toxic environment. And there are so many other gyms and schools that you can go to. Go to another.
Excellent. And I always ask my guests a common question during the podcast. And as an actress and martial artist, you're in a very good position to ask it. But I don't know if you follow the show Cobra Kai on TV. And I always ask, would you be Cobra Kai or Miyagi-Do?
I think, it's Johnny's journey through Cobra Kai is kind of like what a lot of people in martial arts are realizing, that like Miyagi-Do is great from a philosophical standpoint, but realistically doesn't always apply. Cobra Kai, at least how it starts out, is insane. Like that is strictly a I'm here to kill people mindset, a combat mindset,
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to self-defense, which can be a variety of situations, it might be something where talk or Miyagi-Do style works better. And it might be a situation where you need to act and respond quickly. Because if not, you're going to be on the downside of a fight, right? So I think a balance between the two. And I think that what we're seeing with Johnny's journey is that like he's starting to find that balance, and that's what's going to wind up, working and drawing everyone together, whatever. I think that's what's going to happen, but that's my 2 cents. I don't know.
Excellent. And finally, what does the future hold for Katy?
I mean, I'm still acting. I am almost going to be vaccinated, so I'm going to get back into martial arts a lot more heavily here pretty soon. I've got a movie coming out. I have no idea when. No release date yet. But it's called Sweet Girl, and it's a Netflix movie, so I'll be in that. And then in April, I'll have a guest star that I can announce. But if people just like check out my social media or follow my IMDb, anything like that, I always make those announcements there. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. I have a guest star coming up. It's going to be really fun. So
I'll have to keep an eye out for that now. It's very exciting. And thank you again, Katy, for your time today and for sharing your experiences and your story. It was a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been awesome.
Awesome.